You don't miss life because it's short, you miss it because you think it's endless. This isn't just a poetic line, it's the hidden tragedy of how most people live. Life doesn't disappear in one sudden, dramatic moment. It slips through unnoticed, day after day, while we keep convincing ourselves that there's still time. We tell ourselves stories of tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll start the book I've been dreaming of. Tomorrow, I'll reconnect with the people I love. Tomorrow, I'll take the risk that could change everything. Tomorrow, I'll finally start living the way I've always imagined. But tomorrow never arrives the way we think it will. Each day, we wake up, repeat the same cycle, and push life just a little further into the future. We trick ourselves into thinking we are safe because there will be another morning, another chance, another someday. This is the mirage of tomorrow, the illusion that the future stretches endlessly before us, that we can afford to delay joy, passion, love, and purpose, because surely, there will be more time. But tomorrow is not guaranteed. The only thing you will ever truly own is today. Here's the truth that shakes people awake: when life ends, and it always ends, most people don't regret the mistakes they made. They regret the life they postponed. They regret the words left unsaid. They regret the dream left unfinished. They regret stacking their soul into a tomorrow that never came. And so, life doesn't slip away because it's short. Life slips away because you and I believe it's endless. Bronnie Ware, a nurse who spent years caring for the dying, recorded the top regrets of those at the end of their lives. The most common wasn't about money, success, or achievements. It was this: I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Notice the word, courage. People don't regret failure, they regret waiting. That's the psychology of delay. It tricks you into trading vibrant, uncertain moments for the illusion of future certainty. But in doing so, you trade life itself. If tomorrow is just a mirage, then why do we cling to it so fiercely? Why do we keep postponing joy, telling ourselves we'll start later? The answer lies in the psychology of delay. The human brain wasn't built for modern life. It was built for survival. And in survival mode, the brain prefers what feels safe, comfortable, and certain. Joy is uncertain. Risk is uncertain. Change is uncertain. So the brain protects us by whispering, "Not yet. Tomorrow will be safer." Psychologists call this temporal discounting, the tendency to undervalue today and overvalue tomorrow. We convince ourselves that future me will have more energy, more courage, more discipline, more clarity. So instead of acting today, we outsource our dreams to an imaginary future self who somehow has it all figured out. But here's the paradox: when tomorrow comes, we're still the same person. Same fears. Same doubts. Same hesitation. And so we postpone again. Behavioral science proves this. In countless studies, people given the choice between a smaller reward today or a larger reward tomorrow overwhelmingly choose tomorrow. We think waiting will make us wiser, richer, more prepared. But tomorrow is just a moving target. When it arrives, it looks a lot like today. The illusion of endless time fuels this cycle. Most of us assume we'll live into old age. We imagine decades stretching ahead. So we act as if every dream can wait. But the statistics paint a harsher picture: lives end early, accidents happen, health declines faster than we expect. And yet, even when confronted with these truths, our minds resist. It's not laziness. It's not even lack of desire. It's fear. Fear disguises itself as preparation. Fear convinces us that waiting will make us better equipped. Fear sells us the lie that tomorrow will be safer. But safety is the cage. The truth is, growth is always unsafe. Joy is always a risk. Love is always a leap. And if you're waiting until it feels safe, you'll wait forever. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." He wasn't saying life is too brief. He was saying we throw it away by living as if it were endless. We waste it by stacking our hopes into a future that doesn't exist. Tomorrow is a beautiful idea. But it is not a place you can live. We like to believe the future is something we own. We make plans for next month, we dream about next year, we set 5-year goals and imagine who will be at 50, 60, 70. And in a way, there's nothing wrong with that. Vision matters. Goals matter. But the danger comes when we confuse the map for the territory. The future isn't real. It's a mental projection. A mirage. A story we tell ourselves to create stability in a world that is anything but stable. You can't touch tomorrow. You can't guarantee tomorrow. You can only imagine it. Think about it. Every single experience of your life has happened in the present moment. You've never actually lived in the future. You've only thought about it. And yet, most of us live as if the present is just a waiting room for some grand moment that hasn't arrived yet. We say, when I graduate, then I'll be free. When I get the promotion, then I'll be happy. When I meet the right person, then I'll really live. When I retire, then I'll finally enjoy my days. But every then keeps moving. It's like chasing the horizon. No matter how far you walk, it's always ahead of you. That's the mirage. And here's the cruel twist, sometimes, tomorrow doesn't come at all. We all know stories: a young athlete struck down before their prime, a parent who never made it to retirement, a friend who never got the chance to pursue the dream they talked about for years. We hear these stories, we feel the sting, but still, we whisper to ourselves, that won't be me. I'll get my chance. But how do you know? How do you know your tomorrow is guaranteed? This is what the Stoic philosophers understood so deeply. They had a phrase, memento mori, remember death. Not to be morbid, but to be awake. Because only when you accept that tomorrow is not promised do you realize the urgency of today. The cost of waiting is invisible at first. It doesn't scream at you. It doesn't announce itself. It creeps in slowly, quietly, like dust settling in a room. Every time you say, not today, maybe tomorrow, you make a trade. You trade a piece of joy, a piece of love, a piece of life for the illusion of safety. One skipped conversation, one postponed trip, one delayed dream doesn't feel like much. But add them up over years, and you begin to see the real price. Bronnie Ware, the palliative nurse who spent years with the dying, wrote about the 5 biggest regrets people voiced at the end. The top 2? I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, and I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Notice what both have in common: they're about time. People worked, delayed, sacrificed today in the hope that tomorrow would be better. But when tomorrow never came, they realized the cost. Science backs this up. Psychologists studying regret find that short-term regrets usually focus on mistakes made. But long-term regrets focus on opportunities missed. It's not the job you quit, it's the dream you never chased. It's not the words you said, it's the words you never spoke. Silence haunts more than mistakes. Waiting haunts more than action. Think about how many lives follow this same tragic script. The artist who never painted because they were waiting for the perfect studio. The parent who never played with their children because they were waiting until work was less busy. The couple who never took the trip because they were saving for the right time. And then, time ran out. The cost of waiting is not just regret, it's erosion. Each day you postpone, your dream loses a little of its fire. The longer you delay joy, the heavier joy feels when you try to reach for it. Delay long enough, and you convince yourself it's no longer possible. Dreams don't only die from failure. More often, they die from neglect. Across cultures and centuries, the wisest teachers have echoed one truth: life is only ever lived in the present. The future is a concept. The past is memory. But the present is reality. The Stoics called us to remember death not to scare us, but to awaken us. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." The Buddhists framed it differently. They spoke of impermanence, anicca. All things change. Nothing stays. When you cling to tomorrow, you cling to what doesn't exist. And when you resist the fleeting nature of now, you resist the very essence of life itself. Modern psychology has its own language for this: flow. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the psychologist who coined the term, described flow as complete absorption in the present moment, when challenge meets skill, and time seems to dissolve. The happiest people are not those waiting for a perfect future, but those who learn to enter flow today. And yet, most of us miss this. We treat today as a stepping stone, not a destination. We think joy will arrive when life is easier, when things are better, when the conditions are right. But philosophers and sages have always warned us, that day never comes. Life is not something you prepare to live. Life is something you live now. This doesn't mean you abandon vision or stop making plans. It means you stop postponing what matters most. You stop telling yourself that love, creativity, laughter, adventure, and presence are luxuries for later. You recognize they are the very core of life, and the only time to touch them is this moment. So how do we escape the mirage? How do we stop stacking our soul into a future that doesn't exist? It starts with urgency, not panic, but clarity. The awareness that today is all you are promised. That today is not a rehearsal. Here are 3 practical shifts. Shrink your horizon. Most people think in decades. They say, in 10 years, I'll be free. But 10 years is too far away. Start asking, what can I do with the next 24 hours that honors what matters most? When you shrink your horizon, life stops being theory. It becomes immediate. Reframe risk. We delay because we fear loss. But what if the greater risk is waiting? Ask yourself, what will it cost me if I never try? Most people fear failing today, but they underestimate the devastation of regret tomorrow. Practice presence. Begin noticing when you drift into later. Catch yourself when you say, someday. Replace it with, how can I taste this now? It might be small, one sentence of your book, one walk outside, one call to someone you love. These small acts reclaim today from the mirage of tomorrow. There's a line from the poet Mary Oliver that captures this perfectly: tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Notice, she didn't ask about your 5-year plan. She asked about your one life, right here, right now. The antidote to tomorrow isn't to stop dreaming. It's to stop waiting. To realize that every dream worth having begins not in some distant day, but in the choice you make today. At some point, we all must face a choice. Will we keep living for a tomorrow that may never arrive? Or will we step into the only time that has ever belonged to us, today? Most people never make that shift. They live their entire lives in the shadow of tomorrow, waiting for the perfect conditions that never come. They wait until the kids are older. Until the mortgage is paid. Until the business is stable. Until retirement. And then, when the curtain begins to fall, they look back and realize the stage was always set. The spotlight was always on. They just never stepped into it. That's the tragedy of the mirage. It's not that tomorrow is bad. Tomorrow can be beautiful. But when tomorrow owns you, today slips away. And the life you longed for becomes a ghost you can't touch anymore. But there's another path. The path of urgency. The path of presence. The path of choosing to live as if tomorrow is not promised, because it isn't. Imagine living this way. You don't postpone the words you need to say. You don't shelve the dream that calls to you. You don't delay joy, thinking you need permission. Instead, You move with courage. You act even when you're afraid. You savor the small and the grand, because both belong to the present. This isn't reckless. This isn't careless. This is clarity. Clarity that life is fragile. That love is fleeting. That time is the one resource you can never earn back. And when you begin to live this way, something powerful happens: freedom. Freedom from the weight of someday. Freedom from the illusion that you are waiting to begin. Freedom from the haunting thought that you will die with your song still inside you. Because here's the secret: the life you long for doesn't begin tomorrow. It begins the moment you stop waiting. Let that sink in. Every dream, every joy, every transformation you've imagined begins not in some distant day, but in this breath. This choice. This step.